Mm. All right. Okay. So, um, like I think, today's Motivation Monday, and and what do we all need to really move ourselves? And I think when it comes to what do you need to do next, what do you need to continue on, and finding the laziness. Like sometimes the laziest get you. Like it's kind of sitting in your chair and just like, oh, it feels good just to sit here, or to get you out of that mode and get into active mode moving forward with your life, with your business, and what you want to accomplish. There's such a million things you can do to be great. I don't know if y'all ever saw the musical Hamilton, but Hamilton is just a great success story, and you know, I'm I'm into musical theater, and especially with Lin-Manuel Miranda. That dude is awesome. What I love about Lin-Manuel Miranda is he didn't see a lot of Puerto Rican parts for actors on Broadway, unless they're doing West Side Story, right? It's kind of like Once in a Blue Moon, right? Kind of like Asian actors like myself, you know. And so he started writing his own musicals, and it started with In the Heights is the one he really broke in with, and that's where he started introducing rap and integrating rap and music into musical theater. And then of course Hamilton, which was an inspiration from a book that he read, and so he created his own parts for himself by writing these fantastic musicals. But the whole story of Hamilton, like I didn't really know. Come on, man. It was really great. This musical brought Hamilton to life. And and I like the fact that he integrated rap into it because it made it more consumable for young people. But when you follow the story of Hamilton, that dude just wouldn't quit. I mean, that dude was just so focused on becoming successful, and he knew that of course, back then, like today, it's almost like, what family do you come from and what background do you have? People evaluate you on your family name and your education, what school you went to. And he didn't have any of that, right? And he just scrapped, bootstrapped it, scrapped his way to being one of the most prominent forefathers of our country. And he was an immigrant. And one of the coolest, actually, when you delve into the story of Lin-Manuel Miranda writing this, he actually envisioned this to be more of a rap album, where it was like a series of rap pieces that put together the story of Hamilton. I never really thought about putting it together as a musical until it started taking a life of its own. But he came out with this mixtape that was really what Hamilton was supposed to be, was really a rap album. And man, that thing rocks. It's pretty cool. But one of the most prominent songs on there is Immigrants. And the Immigrant song just really speaks to me, right? And what is really cool about the immigrant mentality is, like, they know some come to this country with barely any money in their pocket. They know that this is a land of opportunity that they've been told, and they take every advantage of it, right? And I think if all of us had the immigrant mentality that nothing's guaranteed, nothing's given to us, everything is not taken for granted, and that you got to scrap out there, man. I mean, it's out there for you if you're willing to scrap. So let me see if I can pull it up. So I did have it. Oh, maybe I pulled it down. Oh, I know where it is. So I sent this out, but I don't know how many of you watched it, but it's, I think, worth watching again. And those of you that are coming to Breakthrough, I think what's cool about you coming to Breakthrough is that you're really gonna embody this.
Save more than 30 hours a week.
You're gonna really embody this
I use Zapier to connect
mentality. Get through this ad here. And it's that Kobe Bryant video. Now, however you feel about Kobe Bryant, it's not really material. What's material is what he talks about in this video about being successful. And, I come from, playing basketball and tennis. And, Taekwon was a football player. I mean, anybody who's had competitive athletics can relate to the mentality. And when you look at what it takes to be great, and Kobe entered the league when he was 18. So, I mean, he had the scrap. When you're able, back then you were able to do that. Didn't go to college and was tearing it up with the top athletes in the world in the NBA. But his mindset and attitude is really what I want you to capture, because when you think about being great in life and what we do, you know that other people are trying to get better than you. Like when you're working off season, in your mind, this is the way I looked at it, man. Well, I'd shoot hundreds of shots practicing on my own in a asphalt outdoor court, because I knew that there are other guys that were doing what I was doing, and how can I outwork them? And there are people doing our business that are totally outworking you, that are no better than you. They're like totally no better than you. They just outwork you. They just work harder. They get better at their craft. They learn more. They hang around the right people. That's why I'm excited about y'all coming down to Breakthrough, because you're that kind of person. So let me see if I can share this. Let's do this. Let's just share my screen. Oops. Hold on.
What you doing?
I go through this. I want to watch this again personally, so it's a little bit selfish for me too. Let's watch this.
I wanted to be one of the best basketball players to ever play, and anything else that was outside of that lane, I didn't have time for.
I think the best way to prove your value is to work, is to learn, is to absorb, to be a sponge. Right? But you always want to outwork your potential. As hard as you believe you can work harder than that. And that's what I tried to do when I first came in the league. But basketball is such a direct competition sport that me coming in at 17, I hated when my teammates would say, I get hit with an elbow, right? Shaq would hit me with an elbow in practice. And Nick Van Exel would come up and say, "Are you okay?" I'm like, what? Are you okay? What the hell's wrong with you? So I always had that extra chip on my shoulder. So every day in practice for me was really trying to annihilate everybody that I was playing against. Because I wanted to prove you don't need to babysit me. I'm fine, And so it's always that competitive nature, the work ethic, and curiosity. Because I asked a lot of questions. Playing with Bryant Scott, I asked him a lot of questions. Eddie Jones, who was great at chasing guards off the screens, and I didn't understand how to do that. I would sit with him before practice, after practice. Magic, James Worthy, Kurt Rambis, Kareem Abdul, all the Laker greats. I would always sit down and just ask them questions about certain games that I studied growing up. What actually happened there? What did you feel there? Why? Bird tough to defend. Why? Because he looks slow as shit to me. So I'm missing something. So tell me what I'm missing. You know what I mean? And so I would always ask questions and try to learn as much as I could.
Much the same that I am now, actually, which is extremely curious. Extremely curious. I had a great teacher in high school. Her name is Jane Mastriano, who I'm still very close to. And she sparked my curiosity in writing. And the reason why I felt it was important at the time was not for the writing's sake, or not for storytelling purposes, but there are things in story, inherently in story, that can help me be a better basketball player, be a better teammate, a better leader, understand emotions better. So that's why I got into it, into storytelling, actually. So it's just insanely curious, man. And, trivial things weren't going to pull my attention. It had to be things that were, I had a purpose. I wanted to be one of the best basketball players to ever play. And anything else that was outside of that lane, I didn't have time for.
At what age did that goal become crystal clear?
I made that deal with myself at 13 years old. 13 years old. That's the deal I made.
Crystal clear about it.
Crystal clear.
And where did inspiration come from?
The love of the game. The love of the game, the challenge. I would watch Magic play, I'd watch Michael play, and I would see them do these unbelievable things, and I'd say, can I get to that level?
The biggest percentage of your focus was on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see it that way? That was my edge over everybody else.
I do. At the time, I didn't really understand that. You know, basketball for me was the most important thing. So everything I saw, whether it was TV shows, whether it was books I read, people I talked to, everything was done to try to learn how to become a better basketball player. Everything. At 13 years old, I played the longer game because my game wasn't about being better than you at 13. It was to be better than you when, the chips are really on the line. So when you played at 13, I would size you up and see what your strengths and weaknesses are. How do you approach the game? Are you silly about it? Are you goofy about it? Are you good at it just because you're bigger and stronger than everybody else? Or is there actually thought and skill that you put into it? And when I'd play to my weaknesses. I wouldn't play to my strengths. I played to my weaknesses. Because when you're playing summer basketball, there's so many games. So there's not a lot of skill work being done. So when are you going to get better? When you're playing in competition situations, you're only playing to your strengths. Why? Because you want to win. So what I would do, I was work on the things during those games that I was weak at. Left hand, pull-up jump shot, post game. Right? So I have a strategy. So then fast forward to when I'm 17, and my game is completely well-rounded, and that player at 13 that I saw at 13 is still doing the same shit at 17. Now you got a problem.
That's right.
You got a problem.
And you saw that.
You got a problem.
And by the way, let me ask you. So that's high school. You go into the league. When you're going into the league, you're going with a lot of guys that were, same age, same class as you were going in.
Yeah.
Were you sizing those guys up the same exact way as you did in high school?
I did, but the NBA, it was actually easier. Because what I found in the NBA is a lot of guys played for financial stability. And when they came to the NBA, they got that financial stability. So therefore, the passion and the work ethic and the obsessiveness was gone. So I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be like taking candy from a baby. No wonder Mike wins all these championships.
My philosophy was a very simple one. And this is where I think film plays a big part in my life. Rudy was one of my favorite films growing up. If you guys haven't seen Rudy, I suggest you watch Rudy. After watching that film, I come to understand if I could work that hard every day, being blessed with the physical tools that I have, what would my career be? And I made a promise to myself from that day that I was going to work that hard every single day so that when I do retire, I have no regrets. And that was the most important thing for me, is to leave no stone unturned, get better every single day. And if I lived that way, then over time, I'd have something that was beautiful. But that was my philosophy. It seems like a pretty simple one, but if you live your life to just get better every single day, and do that for 20 years, what do you have? Well, here's why practice was important to me. Not from just the standpoint that I enjoyed playing. Like, I enjoyed being there. I enjoyed getting better. But as a leader of a team, it's also your responsibility to elevate the rest of the guys. And what people tend to get stuck on a lot is saying, okay, the way to make players better is to pass them the ball when they're open. That's a very trivial way to look at things. What you have to do is you have to get them emotionally to want to be better. You have to get them to an emotional space where they wake up every morning driven to be the best version of themselves, right? And how do you do that? And in practice, for me, it was a chance to drive them, to challenge them. And this is where you have to know your teammates. Because if it's late, you just had a back-to-back and we had practice the next day, and you show up, and guys don't feel like going through the motions, don't feel like practicing. It's important to know each and every one of them individually, personally, because then you know what nerve to touch. Some guys, it's like, okay, come on, let's, we can do this. That'll get them going. Other guys, no. You got to figure out what button to push. Powell was always Spain. If I tell them how they lost in a gold medal to us and how they're going to lose again, how I'm going to beat your ass in practice, just like I beat you in a gold medal game, he would hate that. He'd hate that. But that's what practice was. You have to drive them. You absolutely have to. And if practice is more intense and harder than a Game 7 will be, then a Game 7 will be easy. But if it's not, then that's when teams start folding and capitulating.
Seriously, what does failure mean? It doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination. What does it mean? Let's use happy endings, right? And then we can relate this to
failure, why it's not existent. Like, everybody talks about, like, everybody wants a happy ending. Now let's go to the reality of it, right? Let's look at a fairy tale story. Let's look at Snow White. She gets a happy ending. She finds Prince, whatever. She goes on. She lives happily ever after. Well, I call bullshit on that because 2 months later, the fact is they had an argument and he's sleeping on the couch. Right? So the point is, the story continues. The story continues. So if you fail on Monday, the only way it's a failure on Monday is if you decide to not progress from that. So to me, that's why failure is not existent. Because, if I fail today, okay, I'm going to learn something from that failure and I'm going to try again on Tuesday.
Well, with the kids, it's different. So, like, the communication with our children is that, Pops is working hard. This is the level of attention to detail you need to have in everything you do. So it's setting the example. Same thing with my wife. My wife's a stay-at-home wife. It's the hardest job, man. Right? So she works really hard at that. I mean, it's, and so her attention to detail with that as well are examples for our children. And then for my wife, it's, she's as competitive as I am. So she's like, listen, man, if you're going to be out here training 8 hours a day, if you're going to spend 9 months out of the year away from your family, you better fucking win the championship. What are we doing this for? What are we doing?
That.
What are we doing?
I love that.
But it's a balancing act. And that's the thing that's important, is understanding that we have to have so much energy. Because for like Natalia and Gianna when they were babies, especially Natalia because she was doing prime years, and I go to practice and I'd train and I'd play the game and I'd come home and I'd be sore and I'd be tired. And she wants to go swimming. She wants me to take her to the park. She wants to just jump on my back or whatever the case may be. You can't say, I'm too tired, I'm going to lay down. That's not fair. She don't know what the hell's going on, right? And if this was a game, you'd suck it up and play. I play games with the flu. I play games with 102-degree fever, man.
All right. So, whatever your thoughts are on Kobe Bryant, you have to admire his work ethic and that whole notion. I mean, I'm not going to repeat what he said because you heard it and what winners do, what winners have to do. How does that relate to our business? It has everything to do with our business because what do you eventually want to be? I mean, I think each and every one of you on this call has a vision for what you want to accomplish. And if you don't, man, let's talk because you need to have vision. You need to have a vision of what the best version of you looks like, what it smells like, what it feels like. Look at yourself in the mirror and look at that person that you eventually want to be. And it's not just being a great producer making, 10,000 a week. Seriously. I mean, I was looking at some income statements from my agents that are like Megan Wood, like insane, Can you imagine making on average $10,000 of commissions coming in every week? We got agents doing that, right? Mine's pretty insane. But I've been doing this for a long time and I've been thinking this way a long time. And I've never arrived. Like Kobe says, there's no such thing as failure. Failure is just another opportunity to learn to become better. That's why there's no such thing as having made it. I've not made it. Ultimately, I've made it when I've died and, I'm negotiating my entrance into heaven with St. Peter. Yeah, I'll be doing some time, but that's when I've made it. So there's no time to sleep, no time to, I'm not against sleep, but there's no time to waste, in other words, right? To have you become that vision of what you want for yourself. So again, I go back to the people going to Breakthrough. Yeah, I mean, at the time when we signed up early, $795, it's a lot of money, And don't say, well, Alex, you make all this money. It's like, dude, seriously? When I didn't have money, I figured out how to make it to functions because I knew it could change my life. It could change my life. And all I needed was that little incremental change to leverage to continue moving in a great way. So anyway, So I admire those of you that are coming. We're going to have some fun. We're going to discover great things together about ourselves that we can bust through and become ultimately what we want to become. Here's another great thing about it is that not everyone gets to go. Not everyone's going. So what you've done already is you've kind of moved yourself into an elite level of wanting to seek to become better while others are not. And what that says is that, you're going to rise above, and one thing that you should pull out of that is, Kobe was competitive with himself. His competition was how fast could he become better? It was like himself, everyone else mattered from the standpoint of competition. But when it came down to it, it wasn't him against the world. It was him against himself. It was the hardworking Kobe trying to fight the lazy Kobe, right? It was the focused Kobe trying to fight against the unfocused Kobe. And we all have those struggles. Like, there's so many things that it feels better just to sit and do nothing, just sit and watch college football all day with teams that you don't care about, really. You just sit there and it's just a way to zone your brain out when you can totally be doing something effective in your life that can help you become better, right? That's what Kobe is talking about in defining whose competition is. So I guess we can call this Motivation Monday today. Okay. What do you want to be? What does it look like to you? What's it feel like when you claim victory on that person that you have a vision for? What is it that you're doing? How would that make you feel? What is that feeling going through when you felt like you've accomplished what you set out to accomplish? That's a tremendous feeling, man. I know. I remember I was a gym rat when I got into the Air Force. I was second lieutenant. Our Air Force station was right next to Moffett Naval Air Station. So I was a gym rat. I'd play basketball after work. I'd go there and I'd play against all these guys that were great players, guys that would have been on college teams, except they're enlisted Navy men that actually the Navy has this network of basketball players that they get recruited from base team to base team, right? And some were Naval Academy grads that played on the Navy team, and you have all these veteran, like literally veteran enlisted guys, that could have made any 4-year college, maybe Division II, Division III, but they didn't have any money or whatever. They couldn't take advantage of the opportunity, and they got into the Navy as an enlisted person. And so I played against these guys that were just, my basketball got so much better. But I tried out for the base team, the Moffett Naval Air Station base team, and I got on the team. I was like surprised. And that's back then, Air Force guys could try out for the team too. So I was one of me and another guy in the Air Force. And man, we had a great team. We won actually the All Navy Championship. And I was like, I sat the bench a lot. But there was a time we were in a tournament, and I worked my butt off, man, in practice. I mean, I wanted to play more, and I wanted the coach to know. And the coach knew that if I was on the floor, that I would take any free throws, any technicals, because I was like the best free throw shooter on the team. That was one of my specialties. I worked my butt off, and I remember a couple of guys that were the starting point guard and the number 2 guard. They were like sick, and we showed up to this tournament. They weren't around. And so my coach looked at me and goes, "All right, dude, you're in." I go, "Really?" I was like, "Okay, man." I was ready though. I was ready. So I played point guard that game, and it was just, I had a tremendous game too. I mean, it didn't hurt that I had a great game, and did really well. But I was preparing for that moment when they would put me in. Put me in, coach. And all those hours I spent extra time after practice. I was one of those kind of crazy guys that would stay after practice and I would continue shooting. I would, because I was 5'9", right? Actually, our starting point guard was my size too, but this guy was great. and I learned a lot from him. And, when I look at, that time was valuable to me to work, and I work, and, just small level, but it really taught me that, there's nothing limiting myself except for myself. Opportunities are there or they're not there, but the thing I have in my control was me and what I would do to accomplish what I needed to accomplish to become better. So look, man, Mike, so what are small things that you can do to become better? You can start reading books. Here's a great book. I love this book. If you want to learn how to write IULs effectively, you got to know what you're dealing with mentality. And this book, 401 Not Okay, is a great book for that. We've got motivational books.
What's it called? 401 Not Okay?
Yes, 401 Not Okay. 401 Not Okay. So this one, The One Thing, is a great book. And then if you want to be inspired, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, Navy SEAL. This dude rocks. So anyway, but my point is, are you reading? Are you putting in 15 minutes a night reading and becoming better? That's something that all of us can do, right? You know that if you don't read, you're no better than someone who can't read. Okay, let me say it again. If you don't read, you're no better than someone who can't read. But we're all blessed with the ability to read, right? So why don't you take advantage of it and put the good stuff in your head? The other thing is attending these Zoom calls. There can be some little thing that I say or someone else says that will put information in your head that you can use to help you make the next sale. A lot of little nuggets out there. You just have to be open to hearing it, but you got to be there to hear it, right? Going to every boot camp that you can get in. When you hear Indy Albright's going to be in your area, and it maybe it's 3 hours to drive to. Drive 3 hours because there's going to be something there that you're going to feed off of that will make you better. Okay. Listening to the TWC every Wednesday, and then activity call on Fridays, the Alliance calls, or plugging into the President's Club calls. There's going to be something that will help you better, but you have to have the right attitude. You're not just there to show up. Like some of y'all show up to this because maybe it'll score points with me that I see you on the call. Well, yeah, it kind of does, right? Like if I'm going to give you free leads, I would like to see you on these calls. I'm not as inclined to want to do that if I don't ever see you on a call, because now I've made the opportunity easy for you to either come to the morning meeting or come to the evening meeting. So now really I have a way to judge who's in it to win it, right? And I don't want to throw my pearls before swine and invest in someone who doesn't give a crap. Like how stupid business person would I be? Because at the end of the day, this is a business, right? I want to start the starters who are willing to work. And you're the one that can choose whether or not you're on our starting team, right? And when you turn in business every week, you're telling me that you want to be on the starting team. You want me to invest in you when you turn in business every week. I don't care if it's one app. Heck, I could teach you how to leverage one app into 2 apps every week and then 5 apps every week. You know what I'm talking about? So that's kind of where my head's at on this. And I think you all have that ability. So those are some suggestions on things that can help you divert you from watching Sports Center every night to productive things that can help you become better, right? And then implementing it by work, getting leads, getting on the phone, booking appointments, and going out there in battle. So you put yourself into the game, not me. And when you put yourself into the game, you're going to get better. If you coach with me and you run into situations that I can coach you on, you're going to get better and better and better, I promise. So anyway, Motivation Monday, man. Thanks everybody for being on this call. I hope this gives you some sense of where you can become better, and how you can work on becoming better every day. You leverage, there's I think it's called the 1% Solution, or called The Edge, 2 books that teaches you that if you can get 1% better every day, it compounds to the point where you can be great in a very specific period of time, what you can accomplish. So don't let time go by without you working on yourself every day. You're worth it if you're willing to invest in yourself. So rock on, man. Can't wait to see you guys later. We'll do this again tomorrow night for, you don't have to be on that. Okay. So tomorrow night is for the people that can't make the daytime meetings. Okay. And that's the flexibility that you have. Will we do a Thursday sales meeting? We may not. We probably won't because we'll be on our way. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll be on the road, but I'll let you all know. Just keep your eyes peeled for the email blast. So rock on, man. Thanks everybody. I gave you 4 extra minutes to go do something positive in your life. Take care. God bless. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.